Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Gamecast Radio Sports Talk. I am Tim Kernan alongside Mike Freshwater, and we're doing the show again live from the My Favorite Muffin. Thank you again to Ted and Carrie Thompson for allowing us to do the show here, Mike. But it's going to be a nice day here, but I thought it's going to be a little chilly this morning, so I thought it would be good again one more time maybe to do it here at the My Favorite Muffin.
Who knows? It's still February, and anything can happen over the next 2 or 3 weeks as far as the weather goes and the temperature, but hopefully, at least for your benefit, since you're the one that hauls all this stuff around, that it's the last time we're here. But it is great here. It's not just my favorite muffin for me. It's my favorite muffins because I love them all.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's everybody's favorite muffin. So, yeah, again, thanks to Ted and Carrie Thompson, certainly for hosting us again today. But Mike, wanted to start off maybe with a little bit of an update on Alter. You and I, of course, broadcast the basketball games for Alter High School. They had a game last night against Fenwick. Alter playing right now without two starters, Brady Connor and R.J. Greer. And you could tell last night, I thought that the players that normally don't start got in and played well. But you mentioned something on the broadcast last night about chemistry, and I think you absolutely nailed it on the head there.
Yeah, well, you're digging deep down into your bench and expecting minutes and production out of guys who haven't played much, and in some cases really not at all. It's like we had a combination of 5 dudes out on the floor last night that I don't think we even had on the floor during practice this week.
Yeah.
So it's just a bad situation. You're trying to fill in for the guy who's probably going to be the GCL Co-Ed Player of the Year, our leading scorer, a 6'7" point forward, Brady Connor, who's having a really good season. Our only 2 scholarship players on the team right now, and that's a big ask. That would be like Fenwick not having 6'10" Temming and maybe 6'8" Carson Sova. They don't have either one of those 2 guys, let alone both of them. They're a totally different team, and so that's where we were. And Fenwick was coming off of a tough loss against Oakwood on Tuesday night. They were hungry. They knew where we all know where we stand from a seedings perspective because of the new process, and they felt like last night was their chance to really boost themselves and their standing down in the district, the south part of our district, and they got off to a really good start and kind of just maintained that. And for lack of a better way to describe it, they really kind of cruised to that win last night, and we just didn't have the offensive firepower we needed, and they shot probably their best game of the season from a percentage perspective from range, and that's a bad combination for us on the road like that.
Yeah, and I thought you mentioned Temming and Sova. They were certainly the difference in the ballgame, I thought, and I thought that the Knights kind of dug themselves a hole in that first half, a hole that they kind of couldn't get out of. They battled in the second half. There were a couple of parts in that game, Mike, where I thought Alter had a chance to maybe get close enough to possibly steal a win, but they just could never get that big shot at the critical
When
moments.
you have a role player, as they did last night, they had a kid, his name's Costello, averaging 4.2 points a game and had 15 last night. I think he made 4 threes. When that happens in any game, it enhances your chances of winning. But to do it on a night like that, where we were so shorthanded, was exactly what they needed. And, are we good enough to win without those 2 guys? Yes, but, it's tough. We got to go on the road tonight and play up in Urbana, our Springfield area, not far from where our guest today is from, and it's not going to be easy there either without those 2. So we'll see. Guys got to step up and make a difference, and we'll see that if that happens tonight.
Yeah, you mentioned it. The Knights will travel, no rest. They will go up to Urbana tonight and take on the Hill Climbers at 7:30. You and I will be there. We'll come on about at 7:15. And you mentioned our guest. We haven't had him on in a couple weeks, so good to have him back. Is the Gamecast Radio Insider, and he covers Ohio State football and high school basketball in the area, and also coaches Ohio State, or not coaches, but covers Ohio State basketball. So let's go ahead and bring on the show Jeff Gilbert. Jeff, are you with us this morning?
I'm here. I am been out of bed for about 10 minutes, so I'm here.
Well, appreciate you getting
about
up.
50
and I got a coffee cup in my hand, and
Yeah, exactly.
so I'm
We have
bright-eyed.
We have so much. I know we don't have time today, but we have so much that we could talk to Jeff about, both from a high school and a college sports perspective. But let Tim decide the agenda today. But we have so much that's happened since we last talked with Jeff at both levels that we could consume a whole show just talking to him.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a lot covered here. But Jeff, I wanted to start it off. I know you and I talked a little bit yesterday via text, but you said you were going to cover the Centerville Fairmont game.
Oh, baby.
And I think that one turned out to be pretty exciting. So can you give us a little update?
Yeah, that's the game of the year right there, man. That was
From Centerville's perspective.
yeah, but I mean, just from
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
But Kenny Moles felt great about his team, even though they lost, and
Right.
because they had 2 bad games, lost to Miamisburg, lost to Elder, double digits both.
Right.
Didn't play well. I just happened to bump into him on the sideline before the game and wished him luck. He said, "Man, we got to be better than we have been in the last 2 games."
Yep.
I said, "Well, if you can't get up for these guys, and he goes, "Yeah, I know," and sort of gave me that look, like knowing look, and then they were up. I mean, that was a great game. It was back and forth. He's played hard, and took advantage of each other's mistakes here and there, and just and then it came down to the two 3-pointers in the last 6 seconds. So
wow. Describe the game winner for me. I heard floater. I heard banked in 3. I heard. Describe that play for us exactly how that went down.
Well, Bobakar Jai got the ball and he was rushing it up court. See, at the end of the third quarter, just for a little context, he had gotten the ball. Brock Baker had hit a 3 just like at the end of the game. Hit a 3 for Fairmont. Jai got the ball, rushed it up court, made a layup at the buzzer. Just took it all the way. He's a big 6'7" guy, not really a guard, but he can do it in the open floor a little bit. And so, in this game, he's guarding. Well, Baker takes the ball on a handoff at the top of the key, going to his right. Jai switches to him. So, I don't know. I didn't ask Jai this. I forgot to ask him this part, but I don't know if he tripped, stepped on a foot, rolled his ankle a little bit, whatever. He goes down, and there's Baker standing there wide open, and he buries a 3 with 6 seconds to go.
Put them up by 2.
Put them up 2, and Centerville gets a timeout at 3.5. I mean, he said it's 6 seconds. He doesn't get the time, and Cups is over there going crazy for a timeout. These officials, man, they don't look at everybody in the world knows the coach is going to want a timeout.
Right.
And officials don't look at coaches and the places. I mean, the decibel level is whatever, super high, and he finally gets his timeout at 2-something. They put it at 3.5. Jai gets the ball in bounds. He's rushing up court. He's thinking he can get to the rim, but he doesn't. The pass to him wasn't kind of far enough ahead. So he gets to the 3-point line right about the top of the key, just a little left of center. I was on the baseline on the opposite end, and he just off balance 1 foot, pushes it up with his, he's right-handed, leaning to his left, pushes it up right-handed, and banks it in.
My goodness.
And the question is whether he got it off in time.
What do you think?
Well, I couldn't tell. But
what did Moles? Did you talk to Moles afterwards? What did he think?
Yeah, well, no, he didn't think he did. Brooke Cup said, "I don't know if he got off in time or not. It was so close." He says, "I have no idea."
Did anybody have a video of it?
Well, I'll have one. I'll have one today.
There's photographic. I will tell you this: there is video, photograph, frame grab evidence that the ball looked like the ball was still on his hand with the red light on.
Wow.
Is that on Twitter? I'm gonna get a copy of the video because we play Fairmont Tuesday night, Jeff. By the way.
Yeah.
And so I'll see it.
I haven't seen it. I saw I was sent a frame grab of the shot, but I kind of the coaches both talked about it. I wrote my story. I let the coaches talk about it and left it at that. I didn't didn't cast my judgment one way or the other. I just, I mean, and Kenny was great. He said, hey, it's bang bang. How are those guys supposed to call it any better? Kind of with the thought of, and I agree with him. He's like, how can they call it any better? I mean, they see it, they have to make the call. There's no replay. It's just, you get what you get. I mean, that's high school basketball. It's like, and to be honest, they should have had 5 seconds on the clock instead of 3.5 if the officials are paying attention and give a timeout when they should.
Yeah. In that particular situation, I totally agree. I think without replay, it's going to be a call, and they have to use their best judgment. I totally agree with you.
If this had been a college basketball or NBA game, they might have called it the same way. They might have very much called it the same way on the floor and overturned it on replay.
Yeah,
which is what they're supposed to do. I think if it's close, you let it go and call it good. Then you watch it on replay and make a final decision on it. And that would have been the second time this season that Fairmont beat Centerville, though. That would have been a crown jewel for Coach Moles and the Firebirds.
Oh yeah, and he's like, man, I don't know when the last time we beat Centerville twice.
Right.
He said maybe when my brother played back in 05 or something.
Right.
It's got to be at least that long ago, even if it happened then. So.
Right.
No, Centerville is strong. I know they're still very good, Jeff, but are they as strong as they have been the last couple of seasons?
No, they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, they got 2 varsity players last year. All these other guys are doing it for the first time. They're still a good team. They're still a very good team. My theory is, and this is just my theory. My theory is if they play really well,
they can beat anybody.
Kind of their best ball, they can get to state.
Right.
But they could also lose in a district final if they don't do it.
Yeah.
If they don't show up.
Yeah.
And
They've got some great wins, and they got some questionable losses. They lost to Northmont last week, which really had us scratching our head.
Yeah, I'm sure. It had a lot of people scratching their head.
Yeah, and then they beat that national team at flying to the hoop, and it's a strange season for them, like it has been for a lot of us, actually. Fairmont's been up and down like crazy. I mean, they're like 9-8, and they beat Centerville, and I think they beat Beaver Creek. So it's the D1 is wide open. I know Moeller's probably going to be the 1 seed coming out of Cincinnati, but the Dayton D1 is just absolutely wide open, really, I think.
Oh, I agree. I mean, you could pick Centerville as a favorite if you wanted to, just because they've been there before. But it's Springboro could get hot. I mean, it's just whatever.
Right.
Well, Jeff, the draw is actually this weekend for girls basketball, and then I believe they'll do the boys next weekend. Do you have any initial thoughts on maybe the girls tournament? It's going to be exciting, I think, especially in Division III for me, especially because I call Alter.
Yeah, I think D3 is as interesting as anything, if not the most, because of Alter, Waynesville, and Miami East. I mean, I'm interested to see how that plays out. I'm interested to see if Springboro can, get to Cincinnati, get to Princeton, and win a district title. I think, Beaver Creek could go down there and maybe make a little noise too. But I'm really interested to see what the Springboro can do. I think they're the team up here that has the chance down there. These 2 girls, I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen any of them. I don't know. I mean, Carroll's always better than you think they are, so I don't know what they're going to do. D4 is more, up north of here, your Lormies and those types of teams, I think, that'll make a run. But, yeah, I'm interested in seeing how the Alter girls looking.
Well, they look very good, and it's funny, but you mentioned Carroll. They just played Carroll this past Wednesday night, I believe it was, and it was an absolutely fantastic game. And what really kind of jumped out to me is Carroll really reminded me a lot of where Alter was about 4 years ago, when that class, it ironically was my daughter's senior class that won it in 2022. But, those years prior, you could really tell something was coming and that team was going to make a run. And I really felt the same way about Carroll when I called that game the other night. You can see Carroll has got a lot of talent. They're young, And boy, those were two teams that were just going at it.
Yeah.
It was close throughout the ball game. Alder pulled away a little bit late and took care of the game. Now they are playing without Riley Smith right now, but Maddie Moody is she is really playing at a high level right now. She got her 1,000th point and her 500th rebound that night against Carroll. But Alder's clicking, and especially if they can get Riley back. But boy, keep your eye on Carroll the next couple of years. They're going to be fantastic.
Well, I mean, she can coach, and they play hard. And I mean, I love that team they had. They got the state cup. Those back-to-back years. The one year they couldn't play, and then the next year they got to play. And that was a really good team. And so yeah, what is Riley going to make? Is she hurt? Going to be back?
She is out for probably another 2 or 3 games. I don't know exactly what the injury is, but they're just being cautious, and I think she's.
Well, they can win an early round game or two without her.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Sooner or later they're going to need her. I mean, I heard you guys talking about the Altar boys, and I don't want to hold you up long on this. We get on to something else, but. Greer and Connor, are they out for a while, or are they going to be back soon?
I'll let Mike answer that one.
They're out tonight. We're hoping that they get to practice tomorrow and Monday, and they're back Tuesday. I think Brady Connor has a good chance of that happening. RJ sprained his elbow down at McNick a couple Fridays ago, and
he gets hurt all the time. I feel terrible.
He deals with injuries, and yes, probably at least I think probably still today the favorite to win the Player of the Year in our league, but he's going to have to get healthy for coaching to justify voting for him. But those are big losses for us. That's 30 points plus of offense, and then you're digging deeper into your bench when you have 2 dudes out. We could have won. We played really well last Saturday over at Willing, West Virginia, against an undefeated Lindsley Prep, and had a chance to win that game with Brady on the floor. I mean, I don't have any question in my mind last night we would have won if we at least had him.
Agreed.
But when you miss 2, you're really digging into your bench and trying to get kids to play together that haven't done that all season.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to do. But hopefully they're both back practicing tomorrow and available Tuesday night, or we're going to have a long night against Fairmont as well as we did last night.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, I wanted to kind of switch gears here a little bit. Again, I mentioned earlier that we haven't had you on in a couple of weeks, but I wanted to get maybe your feelings about the off season for Ohio State. They seem to, they lost some players in the portal early, but I think they've done a phenomenal job of picking up players in that same portal. And also, of course, they had a fantastic recruiting class, the 2024 class. Depending on what outlet you look at, we're either second or third in recruiting. But I think you certainly expect it every year. But Ohio State again doing a fantastic job recruiting.
Well, yeah, I mean they went from December 29th couldn't have been a lower point for that football program.
It was ugly.
That debacle down in Dallas. I enjoyed my trip. I enjoyed being in that stadium. That was cool, but that was an awful game to watch. But January's been like Christmas morning, man. I mean, it has just been
one after the other.
One unbelievable January you can imagine, and it's not just the players. I think Bill O'Brien is a incredible get for this coaching staff.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
How serious is the chatter that he might leave to go take the head coaching job at Boston College?
Oh, I don't know.
That came up this morning or overnight. I think I saw it from a couple different.
I haven't even heard that.
I heard it from a couple different.
Personally, I think he'd be crazy to take that job because, and here's my point: if he takes that job, the money, okay. If they're paying him enough, certainly it would be exciting. But he's going to develop players, and those players are going to leave for better opportunities in the portal. I think he'd be crazy to take that job.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, at your age, don't you want to be part of a championship or something? Maybe Boston College. What are they going to win?
Well,
I
I
don't care
think
how good you are.
I don't disagree with either one of you. I think he probably could double his money there, but
Money is certainly
and it is a head
factor.
coaching job. But I agree. He's done it all though. He's been a head coach. He's been a head coach in the NFL, a coordinator in the NFL.
Yeah, he's done everything.
He's done it all. I don't know if going over there and wanting to take on what looks like somewhat of a rebuilding job, but it came up overnight. I saw it on several different Twitter feeds, and I just thought I'd get your reaction.
No, of course, I haven't seen it yet because I just got up, but I think that'd be a crazy move. I'd be shocked. Um, but so, but with him there, I
Right.
mean, I think it's something I never wrote about or said until, after the season when they hired him and Scott Carroll was like, man, they really missed Kevin Wilson last year.
Right.
And,
Good point.
as I wrote a big, on Press Pros, I wrote a big column about it. As soon as he got hired, then I wrote a column about the whole off season. And I said he was, and what I said, like, Ryan Day didn't have his eye in the sky, on offense.
Right.
And that hurt. And it wasn't the only thing. They didn't block. They couldn't block anybody. And quarterback was good enough either. So all those things together are big. I think Will Howard, I'm impressed with him. I went over Tuesday. They had all the transfer guys.
Right.
The experienced transfers, not the quarterback who's still an incoming freshman from Alabama, but all the other guys, Will Howard, Caleb Downs, Seth McLaughlin, Quinshawn Judkins, and Will Kazmarek, the tight end from OU, which I think from Ohio U, and I think he's gonna play. They needed a third tight. They definitely always played three tight ends, and they needed a third one to be ready to go. And he's I think they can plug him in, and he can play and be effective and helpful to that team. And so those guys were there. They were all super impressive. Seemed like down to earth. We want to come here and win. We want to we love this culture that we're seeing here. And I think having these guys come in from other schools where Alabama certainly has a great culture, and they're like, this is where we want to be. We love what we're seeing here and so forth. I think that bodes well for the future. I think there's a lot of typically, the way the season ended for Ohio State, everybody's looking for a reason, right? Why is this happening? Why is this, is it Ryan Day? Is the culture bad? Make a big long list of all the reasons, and I think it just comes down to it's personnel and execution. And I don't think it's a culture thing. I think didn't have a good enough line. The quarterback was limited in some ways, and which limits your play calling. And there you go. And the defense next year with Caleb Downs,
Everybody's back.
Everybody coming back.
Their defense is phenomenal.
I mean, you think Michigan's defense is good this year? This could be better. This is 96 defense. This is Tressel's championship year. This is 2018 or 19, whatever, when Chase Young was wreaking havoc on college football. This is that kind of defense, if not better, coming next year, I think.
Yeah, that's exciting.
You kind of veered into this, Jeff, but I wanted to ask you, it appears, at least from the outside, looking in, that Ryan Day has made changes, and he's made some good changes. It sounds, hiring O'Brien, he's going to relinquish the play calling duties. Were these changes that he made mandated by those above him? Are those things that he was required to do from, the Ohio State administration? And do you think he is on the hot seat heading into next football season?
I don't think there's any hot seat right now. I think if next season falls apart after this January, then yeah, but I don't think going in. I think everybody's happy now. And I don't required mandated.
Yeah.
I have trouble believing that. I think they probably discussions like, what do you have to do going forward, Ryan, to be a better head coach, to build and stuff. And I think he's been on board with this more CEO approach. He talked about it a ton last year. the one thing he didn't give up, so to speak, the one thing he didn't do in that to be that CEO, that Nick Saban, right, style of head coach, or what Bear Bryant was. Bear Bryant was famous for just standing in the tower and watching practice and letting his guys coach. I think hiring Bill O'Brien was like, oh, okay, now we got both feet in. We're jumping into the deep end on this, and I'm ready to just be the CEO and run the show and let my guys coach and manage all this NIL mess and deal with that and portal and all this other stuff that we have to, that takes up part of my day now. I think he's there. And he wants to enjoy his family, his kids. His son is a good quarterback at the Sales over there. He was a starter as a freshman this year. He wants to be able to go watch his kid play on Friday night without having to think about what I'm calling on first down tomorrow, on first and 10,
Sure.
third and 1. So I think it will be good, and I think because he brought in a guy like O'Brien. Now, if he just turned it over to Hartline with no experience, or brought in another kind of up and comer, I wouldn't feel as good about it. But he went and found a guy who could be his head coach, so to speak. If things were happen different in college football, timing and everything. I mean, you can see Ryan Day working for Bill O'Brien somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that could have
Absolutely.
happened. That could have happened somehow. Just timing of things. If Urban Meyer was still the head coach at Ohio State, maybe Ryan Day's working for Bill O'Brien with the Houston Texans, and he's still the coach there. And who knows? I mean, so I think it's a good fit because I think it's a peer level thing. There's there'll be great respect between them, and I think that'll work really well.
And folks, we're talking to Jeff Gilbert. He writes for Press Pros and the Dayton Daily News. Dayton Daily News on high school sports, and PressPros.com for Ohio State football and basketball. Jeff, I also wanted to ask you about, there was news came out regarding the SEC and the Big Ten kind of getting together and collaborating on this whole NIL issue. I want to kind of get your feeling on what you think, what's that all about, and what effect do you think that is going to have on college football and basketball?
I haven't read deeply about it. I know I've heard of it. I've heard about it. I've seen the headlines and stuff. I was super busy yesterday. I didn't have a chance to really read deeply about it. But just the fact that they're going to be talking and being involved in something together like that.
It's a sign.
It's a sign. It's a sign of the future, man. You're right, Mike. It is. How many times have we heard 2 super conferences?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the first step.
NCAA may be defunct here sooner or later as well. In that space, if that ends up being a football-only space, in that space, NCAA is going to probably go away.
Yeah.
Right. Sooner or later, there's going to be about 50 teams, and it's going to be their own thing, and then the NCAA ain't going to have anything to do with it.
Right,
It's
exactly.
coming. The conference expansions, this huge conference expansions, when the SEC started growing, the Big Ten started growing. I mean, if you go back to like when Penn State joined the Big Ten, I guess you could say that's the first step. But really, these last year or so, is like this major step forward. And now this thing is the next step.
I mean, if
it's
a whole
going to keep happening.
If a whole conference like the Pac-12 with tremendous history and tradition can dissolve, anything is possible.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I mean, that's insane to even think about, and it
And
happened.
they had such a good year last year. It's crazy.
So
I know they got. Exactly. They got team playoff and all this kind of stuff.
But it's coming, and it's all about money and who's going to get what and how much. And I think it's all going to all come together. It's going to be one big league like the NFL. They'll have divisions like the NFL. They might even have a.
I think it is the beginning of the end of college sports as we
football
know it.
Football anyways. The rest of the
Football,
sports
yeah.
the rest of the sports will probably all stay the same.
Yeah, they're
stay
going to have
aligned.
to figure
I
out
think
that.
so. I think so.
Yes.
And my opinion is that I think it was what I do. I mean, you can like it or not like it. I kind of, if there's some things, it's like, oh man, you'd like some of it to stay the way it is. You like some of the changes, whatever. But I think the biggest thing that I don't like is that because of football, it's created all this conference shifting, and it's affected other sports. And I think
Yes.
I would love to see football just go off and be its own thing.
Yes.
And then Big Ten go back to being the Big
Yes.
Ten.
Yes.
The Pac-12 go back to being the Pac-12 and all the other
Totally
sports.
agree
Correct.
with you on
Correct.
that.
Yes.
That makes too much sense. So who knows?
Yeah.
Hey, whatever it ends up being in the next 2, 3, or 4 years, it's not forever. It's gonna keep evolving
No,
and
that's
changing.
true.
And we may circle all the way back in 10 years from now. Who knows? And back to the conferences and stuff.
Well,
right? I mean,
if TV money falls apart,
right.
If what's the economy do? I mean, if things fall apart in some areas that maybe they've grown too fast, it's kind of like are we gonna have like a .com bubble where everybody bursts and then they fall back to what they used to be? That could happen. I'm
Yeah,
not predicting
good point.
that,
Well, football drives the revenue for all these major programs. All the other sports except men's basketball lose money. I mean, it's so.
Ohio State men's basketball might be losing money right now.
Well, that's maybe a topic for next Saturday. So I got some opinions on that, but I'm just saying, if something happens where that money seems to start to diminish versus grow, it's going to drive changes. But again, who knows where we're going to be in 5 years? Who knows where we're going to be in 10 years?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, Jeff, before we let you go, I wanted to ask you one more thing. And, we got the Super Bowl coming up. It's not obviously tomorrow, but it's a week from tomorrow.
Yeah.
And let's get your pick.
Well, good, because you won't be able to get me out here next week because I fully expect to be coaching my 7th grade team in the Ohio Heritage Conference Championship game, tipping off at 10 a.m. next Saturday morning at Fairbanks. So,
all right. I couldn't find Fairbanks with a map.
Yeah,
where's that?
It's up by Marysville.
Okay.
Yeah, we're 14-2, and our 8th graders are 15-1. So we expect to be there all day and have a chance to win both.
Fantastic.
Where are all those kids going to go to? Where are all those kids going to go to high school at then?
Well, I hope they all go to Cedarville.
So Cedarville's got a good future ahead of them basketball.
Yeah, we got a good future. I got 3 really good guards.
Good.
That's fantastic. Good luck.
Tell Eric Coulter he would be jealous of my guard.
We could have used one of them last night.
Because he knows how to have. He's been blessed with good guards.
And again this year, yeah.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, I got the Chiefs.
Yeah,
I got the Chiefs.
Kind of hard to bet against Mahomes and Reed. I mean, how do you do that?
Well, and the defense. I think their defense will.
I think it's a little underrated. I think it's really good. And they proved it last weekend, I thought. So
now Joe will be out, right, Mike?
Joe Jr. is not playing. My son will be there. Joe's not playing, but my son will be there. My son went to the game on this past weekend over in Baltimore. My son and Joe are best friends, and he goes to all the Super Bowls, and he's already booked his airfare for out of.
That's awesome.
Joe takes care of the ticket and the room, so all he has to do is pay his airfare and any other expenses. So he's not a big gambler. He's not going to be losing a lot of money at the poker tables, but he's looking forward to going. And Joe's just not going to be able to play. He has to make a decision himself. He's been given all the information he needs. He's got a couple different opinions, but he's got to make a decision as to whether or not he's going to have surgery to repair it. And I think I would say, based on the fact he hasn't made that decision yet, maybe he's leaning towards letting it heal naturally over time. But that's a tough injury to come back from for a guy for an offensive lineman especially, and hoping the best for him. So can I ask 2 quick questions?
Absolutely.
And then I'll put you on a timer because I know Tim wants to move on. And we can talk about this. We can talk about this next time we have you on because they're kind of timeless. Number one, real quickly, your thoughts on the new seeding process that we're using for boys and girls basketball in Ohio now. What do you think about that?
I think I don't have a problem with the coaches not doing it. I don't have a problem with having a rating system. Is this the best rating system? Let's wait and see how the standings work out and what our eye test tells us versus what the standings are, and then make a final judgment.
Yeah.
What I think is stupid, and I will say this is stupid, is that everybody's gonna put their names on the bracket before they play all the games, and I think that's the dumbest thing in the world. The brackets are already set. everybody who hosts know what time their games are going to be.
Right.
Do you really need to know, Mike, 3
No.
weeks, 4 weeks ahead who you're playing in the first round?
No, you could do the meeting the Saturday after, or the Sunday. I should say the Sunday after the last regular season game. I've heard about teams who are canceling games,
Yeah.
postponing games right before the final seeding is locked in hopes of making sure their standing is better than it might be otherwise, and they're playing the games after the seeding process. I agree with you. I don't understand why we couldn't have gone straight to the football model, but
it's on somebody's part. That's all it is.
well, and the other factor that's stupid is they don't include school size in their formula. It's strictly win based, which is dumb. We could beat a 15-3 Mechanicsburg. Nothing's, I'm using them as an example because they're a small school. We could beat a 15-3 Mechanicsburg and a 15-3 Fairmont, and then both wins mean exactly the same thing. We don't get credit for playing up a division.
Yeah.
Which leads me into my next question: thoughts on going to 7 divisions next year in most of these other sports?
I think that's too many, but what I hear is they're going to go about 60 teams in Division One and 60 teams in Division Two,
Right.
60 some, and then split it evenly the rest of the way.
Yes.
I think what I fear is that you're going to have you're going to create a lack of depth in each division, and you're going to have a bunch of district final blowouts.
It's going to dilute it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I think will happen. Prove me wrong, but that's what I think.
I think there's that, and this is, I guess, a small issue, but the other thing is they're not going to be able to play the state semifinals in the same venue that they're using to play the championship games, which stinks for me because making the Final Four has always been a goal because you were going to be at Schottenstein Center, right? You know you're going to be in the main venue playing in front of big crowds and all that stuff. This way, they won't have enough. There'll be too many teams. So the semifinals will have to be played in high school gyms like Trent or Vandalia or something like that, which I hate. It's I have mixed emotions about it. I can see why if I was like a small D1, I'd be kind of excited because I think having to compete with all those really big D1s is unfair.
Well,
but in our case, being D4, I mean, for us, I don't want to sound like arrogant or anything, but I don't. It won't be as competitive for us. I mean, it just won't be in an average year. So I think, again, like you said earlier, it's a question of waiting and seeing how it works. But I think your reaction, and I agree with this right off the top, is it's too many in some of those sports, and it's diluting the waters in some cases.
It's some schools. I think the small, because the range in D1 was like over 900 students.
Yes, it was crazy.
And so they needed to do that. I didn't have a problem with them saying, okay, let's have 5 divisions. 6, maybe not, but 7, don't like it.
Yeah,
don't like it, and
yeah, that's a lot of tournament games and a lot more money for the OHSAA, though.
Money. Does money have anything to do with this?
Yeah.
It's more opportunities for kids.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. Whatever. I'm not. I know Doug Ute, the executive director, nice guy. I've talked to him a few times. Like him a lot, but he's very in favor of this, and the board of directors seems to be ready to vote for it.
Well, I guarantee you, one of his objectives, if you looked at his personal goals or career goals in terms of how his job lines up with the OHSA, one of them is to improve the bottom line. And this is a way
they've done that.
They have done that. They're cash flush. And,
they got.
And they're going to get more. They're going to get more out of this change. It's not just basketball. They're doing it in all the other sports too. Although most of the other sports don't make any money, but But it's going to be interesting, and it just seems like once the tournament starts, in March next year with 7 divisions, just a whole bunch more in the funnel, right? I mean,
and the state semifinals are not going to be played at UD.
That stinks. I hate that.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, are you covering any games tonight?
No. We're doing a little shopping today, and stuff like that. We're looking to
Little
you guys,
date
I don't know
night.
if you guys know, well, I don't know if you guys know this, but I had a house fire 14 months ago,
Oh,
I think you did tell me about that. Yeah.
and we're hoping to move back in April. So we still got a few things to.
boy.
We're going to look at carpet samples today.
Yes.
That's exciting.
So exciting. And you'll have zero say.
Well,
You'll
good
have
luck
zero
with that.
say in what
Yeah.
you pick.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Hey, we're gonna be up near you tonight. We're gonna be in Urbana if you want to bring your son over to catch some casual high school basketball.
My grandson.
Or grandson, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, he's 3.5, a little past 3.5, and he likes to come to my games.
Does he?
He likes to come to. Yeah, he calls it. He doesn't call it basketball. He calls it Papa's game.
There you go.
I got a 3-year-old. He's the same way. But he wouldn't last. My grandson wouldn't last. The same age. He wouldn't last past the first quarter, I don't think.
Oh no, he stays. He kind of watches the whole game. He
Wow,
stops and watches,
that's awesome.
And he sees things, and he's going to be tall enough to play the sport. I can tell you that.
Good.
Of course, I'm about 6'3". There's some not. I'm kind of the tallest on my side, but there's not. We're not. But there's some height overall. And then his daddy. Brennan, his name is Brennan. Brennan's daddy is 6'5".
Oh, outstanding.
And he's got a grandfather. His other grandfather's probably 6'4", and his
There you go.
aunt
Could have a future player there.
Yeah, his aunt is 6'2". She played at Cedarville University. So there's all kinds of height over there.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
grandma, everybody. Yeah, even the other grandma's like 5'10".
I can see a 3-point, nice 6'5" wing guy shooting threes in your future.
Yeah. Well, I'll take the next Jacob Connor.
Yeah, no,
There you
same
go.
here. We would too.
Well, Jeff, we really appreciate you joining us this morning. Good luck next week on your tournament games, and hopefully you will bring home the trophy.
Yeah, text us an update on that. Well, I'm going to be interested in hearing because I have a lot of very fond memories of coaching 7th and 8th grade championship games. So let us know.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I will. Okay,
All right,
guys.
Jeff, have a good time today looking for carpet, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. All
Shag,
right,
go
we'll see you
Shag.
later.
Look for Shag.
Have a good day.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
And that was
Is that
Jeff
the truth,
Gilbert.
though? They're going to go shopping, and he's going to have
Oh,
zero
yeah.
input.
No,
into,
he'll have zero
She's
input.
going to ask him what he thinks.
Yeah, but you
it's
know
not
who
gonna
gets
matter.
you know who gets the final word.
It's not even a question. It's almost strict ridiculous. You have to go with them. But
Yeah.
they make you go, and you just kind of stand there and go, yeah, that looks good. Well, I could actually like the purple Shag, but
Yeah.
that's not going to happen.
That was Jeff Gilbert with PressPros.com and the Dayton Daily News. Always great to talk to Jeff. Nice to get his perspective on the tournament and the conference, the conference expansion. And
He's on top of it. He did
high
write a
school.
nice article the other day. Press Pros. I never get this right. Is it Press Pros?
PressPros.com.
He wrote a nice article. I always share his stuff on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah, he does a great job.
But he did go over there for that press conference they had with all those new Ohio State guys, and it's good to hear that they were all well prepared for it and good kids and honest and open and just seemed like high character guys, which is always something that you want to consider and make sure you take in as you go out and look for dudes. But I don't think I don't remember an off season, and I certainly don't remember going into a year with the expectations and the hopes in terms of where they're at right now for Ohio State. I mean, it's unbelievable how fast they turned that around. You heard me say the exact same thing he did, which is in about a month's time from that bowl game to a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
They did a 300. Is
They
that possible? 360 degree,
180 at least.
I mean, he deserves. I mean, he's not going to get it because he's got so many haters out there. But they deserves a lot of credit for what they did. I mean, if it was a business, their stock would have went from penny stock to $80 a share overnight, right? I mean, it was.
Well, and that's why I asked him if it was something that was mandated, if the AD or the upper echelon of the administration came down
this
and
year in
said,
the business world, it's like anything else. The leader, I'm sure, got people in the room, and they spent a week meeting, probably whiteboard and stuff, and consulting with people who they probably brought in past coaches. Maybe Urban Meyer was involved. I don't know, but they didn't do it on his own. He had a lot of help in terms of thinking through a plan. But they thought through that plan and executed on it relatively quickly and extremely successfully.
Well, and it's funny. Before we move on, Mike, just one more point. You mentioned Urban Meyer, and I saw something interesting. I don't know what the context was, but I thought it was kind of a cool thing. But when Urban Meyer was at Ohio State, he probably did it at Florida too. But in the off-season workouts and the players getting together in the off-season, he would not allow them to wear a shirt with the Ohio State logo on it until they earned it. Yeah. I just thought that was kind of cool.
They do something similar in the fall with freshmen. They have to earn their stripes on their helmet. Up to that point, they go without stripes. So there's a lot of so that's all cool stuff, and I think that's a smart move. And one of the things that's very subtle that we didn't talk about, and that is that Ryan Day, amongst his coaching changes, brought on Schlegel, Anthony Schlegel, as a strength and conditioning coach. And that guy, you talk about somebody who's intense. He gets fired up waking up. I mean, this guy is extremely intense.
You have to have those types of guys around your program.
And physical and passionate. And bringing this guy in and throwing him into the mix was really a smart move as well.
You got to have guys like that in the program. If you don't,
eat, drink, and sleep football, and just tremendously passionate about Ohio State, which is funny because he was a transfer. He came to Ohio State from Air Force, but ended up being a really good linebacker, and putting him into the mix and having him there every day now it was a great move. A subtle move, not real widely advertised, but a really good change and move for the program.
And Mike, just wanted to go over a few more things before we wrap it up today.
We're fired up today, man. We are fired up. We got to get Chick Ludwig on this.
I've tried to reach out to him.
He likes to get fired up.
I would love to have Chick on.
I'll reach out to him on Facebook, and I don't have his phone number, but I can message him in Facebook and ask him if he. I know he would do it if he has the time, because trust me, that dude he's everywhere, man.
I've met him a few times.
He's another Mr. Ubiquitous. He is. He's everywhere, and coaches umpires softball, referees volleyball.
Yes.
Does talk shows. Substitute teaches in Middletown. He's my age. I think he's actually a year older.
I met him.
He's got tremendous energy and knowledge, man, because he used to work for the Dayton Daily newspaper and cover high school basketball. He knows Alder basketball probably better than I do.
Well, I think his daughter went to Alter, but I've met him a few times. He would never remember me, but he definitely referees volleyball, because he refed several of my daughter's volleyball games. So I would love to get Chick on, but Mike, real quickly, we'll go through a few things here, but wanted to just the open coaching positions in the NFL have almost all been filled. You started with 9 openings, and now they're down to 1. The Commanders,
which is amazing.
Washington has not
decided what they're going to do there yet, right?
Well, Ben Johnson, the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, said no. He declined because wanted to stay in Detroit, and Bobby Slowick, the Houston Texans offensive coordinator, just signed an extension with Houston, so he said no as well. And at least as far as reports go, they're down to 3 candidates, and that would be Aaron Glenn, the Lions DC, and Dan Quinn, the Cowboys defensive coordinator, and Anthony Weaver, who is the Ravens associate head coach, defensive line coach. And I would think that they'd be kind of favoring Dan Quinn, but we'll see how that kind of shakes out.
I don't know why it's taken this long. I don't understand it, but something's wrong there maybe. I don't know. They do have new ownership, and everybody's excited about that. And you would think that this is something they could have already have accomplished, but maybe they're just being smart and deliberate and taking their time to make sure they got the right guy, I guess.
And to this day, it's still hard for me to not say Redskins.
Yeah.
I wish they would go back to that. I realize all the political goofiness with that, but I think the even Indian Tribe Nation came out and said, please use the name. So, but anyways, that is a discussion for a different type show than ours.
Yes.
NFL playoffs, Mike.
Playoffs?
The Chiefs.
Talking about playoffs?
The Chiefs did it again. They defeated the Ravens 17-10, and I don't know what it was. I just kind of felt like the Chiefs were going to take that one.
Yeah, I called it. I bet it. Bet both the winners last week, actually. And I'm going to have trouble picking against Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid. I mean, I said it last week, and I'm going to say it again this week, although I'm going to think a little harder about it for some reason. I'm not sure why. This feels like the Redskins, holy crap. The 49ers are pretty loaded, but everybody said that about the Ravens last week. So I'm going to have trouble going against the Chiefs, but I guess we'll make that pick next weekend. But right now, I'm leaning towards Mahomes and Reed.
Well, you mentioned earlier in the show how great this Kansas City defense was playing, and I totally agree. But I thought the Ravens defense kept them in the game too.
Well, absolutely.
The Ravens offense just couldn't take advantage.
In terms of overall offense, especially from a scoring perspective, the Chiefs were middle of the road in the NFL. They ranked 15th in the NFL, but were able to find a way last week to score enough and keep the Ravens out of the end zone. Made some big plays. And they depended a lot on Kelsey. It feels like if the 49ers can kind of take him out of the mix,
agreed.
which they'll probably try to do, and make the Mahomes beat him with somebody else, that might be a problem. But right now, I'm leaning on the Chiefs, but I can be convinced about the 49ers. I'm just going to spend a little bit more time thinking about it and reading about it before I make my own choice.
Well, in the NFC Conference Championship, the Lions at the 49ers. Boy, I thought the Lions came out of the gate just absolutely on fire.
No shit, they did.
And there was a play in the first half when they decided to go for it on fourth down. I kind of agreed with that call, but then later on in the game, Campbell decided to go on fourth down a couple of other times where I definitely thought they should have kicked the field goal, Mike, and it ended up hurting them later, obviously losing 34-31, but wanted to get your feeling about that. Did you disagree with them going for it on fourth? Again, I don't have a problem with the first half when they did it, but boy, late in the game
it feels like they probably should have kicked it there. But that's something they've done all season.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about all that is his players 100% had his back after the game. So, yes, they probably should have kicked the field goal there, but that's their character. That's how they got where they were at.
It's true.
And,
it's a good point.
He went for it and it didn't work out, but maybe he learns from that and changes, and they get in that position again next year. Maybe he kicks it, But that was their plan going in. They stuck with it, and his players defended him. And it's kind of hard to argue. And they had a great season. So, and they're set up nicely for the future. They're really young, and I think they're going to be a contender again next season.
I do too. I don't think they're going to surprise anybody like they maybe did this year a little bit. But I do agree with you. I don't think they're just a team that's just going to fall apart and not even be a factor next year. I think they're going to be in contention. Now, it's going to be harder. It's always harder to, be the pursued and not the pursuer. So we'll see how that shakes out. I thought Goff and Purdy both played pretty good games. But boy, give credit to San Francisco in that second half. They figured out a way to kind of slow down that Lions offense.
They did. Their defense is good. They got bookend Ohio State defensive end rushers, Chase Young and Nick Bosa. Both of them guys are really, really good, and it's going to be hard to pick against them as well the more I think about it. But and it's almost like a home game for them, as close as Vegas is to San Francisco. But and they're going to have a ton of fans there. But I'm looking forward to it. I know most people aren't because of the two teams that are playing in it and the whole Taylor Swift factor, but I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great game. And,
it should be fun.
And I'm excited.
And Mike, before we head into my favorite part of the show, yes, no, maybe, I wanted to touch on one more thing real quick. Michigan hired Sharon Moore, hired him as their head coach. He was, of course, the interim coach that took over when Jim Harbaugh was had to sit for those 2 or 3 games, I believe it was, maybe 3. But I wanted to get your reaction on that. Not a surprise as far as I'm concerned that he got the head coaching position. There were rumors of other coaches being interested, but Michigan went ahead and hired Sharon Moore.
Well, somebody needs to tell him there's no crying when you're the real head coach
Well,
on national
no
television.
F-bombs.
No F-bombs, no JCs, no. Yeah, right. Don't reference the Lord in the same breath that you're F-bombing and S-bombing the national audience, but and no crying. I don't know. I guess that's a good hire for them. I think it's a drop off, but
Yeah, I
it's
did
not
too.
a big name, like Harbaugh was for them there. Although, he struggled for 3 or 4 years before, maybe 5, before he really got them on track. So
Absolutely.
I think Michigan's going to have a tough next year or season or two, but Moore will probably get them back on track, use that brand to bring guys in, and the landscape's changing quite a bit. So just an average season, I guess, if you want to call it that, by Michigan standards, might get them into the playoffs. So another interesting piece of the puzzle when we go into the season next year is how is Michigan going to do with him at the helm as the permanent head coach.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. I agree with you. I see Michigan falling off a little bit, not only just because of the coaching change, but also their schedule is pretty hellacious next season. As much as I made fun of it this year, they played a high school schedule. Next year, their schedule is definitely legit. And interesting, Mike, I don't know if you knew this, but Sharon Moore really made a hard push for Chad Bowden, who works at Notre Dame. He is their recruiting coordinator. And I think he threw a title and a lot of money Bowden's way, trying to get him away from Notre Dame. But I don't know if, Notre Dame certainly, I would imagine, probably counter-offered. But he is going to stay at Notre Dame. And from my perspective, I'm really pleased with that because Bowden has just done a phenomenal job at Notre Dame recruiting.
Yeah, he has. There's been a lot of movement amongst some of the big-time programs, and change like that is always difficult to recover from. Takes a little bit, but Notre Dame hung in there and held on.
Yes, they did. And Mike, let's go ahead and we're running out of time here, so let's go ahead and jump into yes, no, maybe. Folks, if you're just joining us for the first time, this is where I make a statement, and then Mike and I determine whether we agree, disagree, or possibly agree or disagree on the statement. So here we go. Mike, first question. T. Higgins will be in a Bengals uniform next season.
Maybe. They got a couple options with him. They can franchise tag him. They can tag him and trade him. They could sign him and trade him. I mean, there's options there. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion in any situation or any case there. And I think it's a strong maybe for me. I think he's got a good chance of hanging on there.
Yeah, agree with all of your assessments, but I'm going to say yes. I think the Bengals realize what an important part he is to that team, and I think they'd be crazy to let him go. But I know there's a lot of extenuating circumstances that surround that situation, but I think the Bengals are going to find a way to get it done and get him signed. Mike, do you remember, here's the next statement, do you remember must-see TV? It was kind of a slogan for NBC.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I'm going to say, this next statement is the NBA, you had your must-watch TV, well, the NBA is can't-watch basketball.
It's hard. The only NBA I've watched this season is when my Cavaliers play, and I've seen a couple of their games, probably 3 or 4 of them, because they're playing well and they're my favorite. My dad bought stock in them when they were first founded, and so it is not must see TV. Generally speaking, across the whole NBA spectrum, but I like watching the Cavaliers and Stu do a little bit, but it's not great basketball.
No.
There's very little defense being played half the time, and I don't know. They got to do something to fix that because it's just not. It's more of an exhibition game. It feels like every damn time they play versus a real competitive game.
I'm going to say agree. I think it is can't watch basketball. And by that, I don't mean that the players aren't talented. They're absolutely off the charts skill-wise. But it's just hard to watch. And I'm going to make a a point here, Mike, and would like to get your quick reaction. But I think part of it is, I think the shot clock's too short. It's at 24, and I think you need to go to 30 or 35 and actually play some basketball. All they do is either bulldoze to the basket, somebody dunks it, or they throw it out to half court for a three.
It's a three-point shooting contest, really, most of the night, most of the games. And, again, very little defense is being played. You can't play defense for 20 seconds, or whatever on average, the average possession. I don't know about the shot clock being too short. It's just that nobody plays defense. They make it too easy. Guys are scoring 60 and 70 points like it's nothing anymore.
It's crazy.
And it's an open gym with referees, and I don't enjoy it. Now, playoff basketball is a different story. Once they get that far, I think it's fun. It's competitive. They play hard, and they hate losing. But until then, it's this exhibition.
All right, Mike. Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time.
Seen enough of, obviously saw all of him, and I've seen LeBron James up close since his sophomore year in high school. And I'm just going to go. I'm going to go 1A and 1B with those two guys. And so I'm going to go with maybe only because I think LeBron James deserves consideration. Because by the time he's done, he's going to hold every single record that he possibly could hold. And he's got enough championships, I think, in enough different environments to justify that. But I'm just going to go with maybe because I think they both deserve consideration for that. It's hard for me to pick one or the other.
I'm going to say yes. I think Michael Jordan is definitely the GOAT. LeBron's great, but, and they also are a little bit different player. But as far as the impact that they had on the game, and I'm going to even add, outside the game, I think Jordan has made better decisions than LeBron has, and I just think he's the greatest basketball player of all time.
He was smarter about how he marketed himself, I think, a little bit, especially in terms of the general public opinion of him. He stayed out of politics. He wasn't quote unquote unauthentic. But you can make an argument. I could sit down and put together a written argument for both, and not put names on it, and ask you which one you thought had the best career, maybe or is the best
fair
player.
Point, yeah.
And I think you would have trouble picking one over the other, and that's kind of where I am with it. Not partial to one or the other. Maybe I like James because he's from Ohio, and we played him twice in high school and almost beat him. But it's hard to make a choice for me. I know this seems like a crappy way out, but I'm going to go with 1A and 1B on that.
That's all right. That's what it's for. So final one today, Mike. Johnny Carson is the all-time greatest late-night television host.
Oh, absolutely, yes. That's a strong yes. I love going back and watching some of the old highlights when he had guys like Rodney Dangerfield on there and Dean Martin and Don Rickles was just absolutely. You talk about must-see TV.
Yeah.
He had a really good panel lined up for as his guest list for a given night. It was fantastic. And again, I like going back and watching some of the old broadcasts of where he had people that I like, not even people I liked. I mean, like some of the skits he did were just absolutely hilarious, maybe ahead of his time. So strong yes on that one. Absolutely, JC number one.
Absolutely agree. Johnny Carson was definitely the best late night television host without a doubt. So folks, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Gamecast Radio Sports Talk. Mike, thanks for joining me this morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
We will see you tonight up in Urbana and see if the Knights can break the 2-game losing streak.
Yes, let's see if we can get it done. I was just looking. They've updated the seedings in the OHSAA, and we've slipped to number 2 after last night. So hopefully motivation for the guys tonight, and we can win and maybe jump back into the number 1 spot.
All right, folks, have a great day. Enjoy the sports, and we'll see you next week on Gamecast Radio Sports Talk.
So long, everybody.